Let's design the Galactic line. Today we're going to talk about mission design. I've gotten to the part of the game development stage where you can accept missions, you can assign crew, and you can watch the missions complete over time. But you know what I haven't done is made the missions at all interesting to anyone. The real problem with the missions is that they have a very simple outcome. They have a very simple statistical outcome. +1 stat point for a particular crew member. Oh yeah, ooh yeah, let's get going. No, nobody gets excited for that. Similarly, plus $30, 30 space bucks, or +8 political points or whatever. None of this stuff matters to the player's heart. Now their brain might go, okay, yeah, I want the one that's got political points because I'm short on political points, or I've got a goal that's political or whatever. But these aren't interesting on their own. Now, by limiting their availability, you can make the player choose which missions are more important to them, and that makes them more interesting. So if the availability is sporadic, that does mean that these missions are going to catch the player's interest whenever they become available. So rather than always allowing you to train any of your crew members in any stat, you might pull up to Tau Alpha Ceti 5, and it might be like, okay, here one of your crew members has discovered a good teacher or a good class that really gels with them. You can train that crew member 1 point if you take this mission. But of course, at the end of the mission, you can go fly around while they study, but at the end of the mission, you got to come back and take a test. That's the end of mission action you've got to take. So because of that, you can sort of, do I want to have that one person have an extra stat point? If it's in a stat they don't use, then whatever. A stat they do use, does it interfere with my other things? Well, they're going to have to stay assigned to it the whole time. So you can kind of agonize over it a little bit, even though the outcome is quite generic. The availability is sporadic enough that you feel like the outcome is interesting. Now this expands to a whole game, because what you need to do is make all of these stats interesting in sporadic ways. You don't want to just break it down into like 4 different mission outcomes, because then the sporadic availability becomes a constant availability just with different targets, and it's not nearly as interesting. So you want a lot of outcomes. Some of those outcomes will certainly be on your ship. For example, crew stats, cash on hand for buying more supplies or repairs or whatever, supplies, and fuel. But those 4 stats are not going to support you throughout the entire game. Missions that only relate to those are going to feel very self-centered and shallow. What you really want is to build a world. You're building these ships so you can build a world. And that's great. I think that's an awesome idea, so we'll give the world some stats. And I got to thinking about it, and I thought, this is a really great adventure mode, a really great version of survival mode. You start a new survival game. It's not limited to one ship. It's like starting a new city in SimCity. You can build as many ships as you want, but you're still in the same city. So we'll say that we're starting in some version of Earth, right? And it's like 2100, who knows, in the future. And they've built some kind of space construction yard, and you can build yourself spaceships there. Great. And I got to thinking, what spaceships have is a cost. They are built out of stuff. So if you build yourself, a cool engine part, how much is that going to cost you? How much is it going to set you back? Is this something where you can just freely build absolutely anything regardless of the price? And if so, how do we make the game interesting and compelling? Obviously, there's some kind of creative mode, but by and large, you do have price constraints. How do we work that? Well, in most games like this, you'd say, okay, well, the engine requires 800 steel, and it requires 14 plastic, and it requires 80 electronics components, and it requires 46 ceramics. And you go and you have to dig those up and refine them and put them together. But that doesn't make sense in this case, because you're not on your own. You're buying stuff from the planet Earth. If you need 46 points of ceramics, you go down to the marketplace and you go, I need 46 points of ceramics. And they say, that'll be $4,600, please. And they give you your ceramics and you go back upstairs. You don't even have to know that they're ceramics. You can just like type it into Google. And even if it's in another language, you'll still get ceramics. So really, from my perspective, it's not about what's in your engine, specifically. It's about what that kind of componentry costs on the market. And that got me to thinking, well, what if we specify that these components are of a specific economic tech level? So rather than just saying that the engine costs $46 million or saying that it costs 86 million different components, why don't we just say it has a specific set of economic costs? What do I mean? Well, let's call them tech levels. At tech level 0, the price is for basic machining of common materials, something we could do in like the 60s. So this would be like steel, plastic, ceramic, in relatively straightforward shapes, machined either by hand or by machines. So if you were going to visit some faraway planet, Garden Earth, and they had absolutely no technological resources, you could set them up to produce these. You could teach them how to build enough machines that within one generation or less, they could be producing the kinds of parts you would need for tech level 0. And tech level 1 would be the early space age or computer age. So you've got circuits and stuff like that, displays. So right now, I would say that we're using a lot of tech level 1 components in the real world, right? Phones. Up here we've got antennas. And down here we've got encryption. So you get these parts on the market, but how much they cost depends on the quality of the market. So when you start the game, Earth is in a just peeking into the tech level 1 marketplace. They've got like 1,000 points of tech level 0 economy and like 10 points of tech level 1 economy, which means that it's way, way cheaper to buy steel and plastic and ceramic and way more expensive to buy circuits and displays and phones. Or maybe you can randomize it and you get like 10 points of tech level 0 and 1,000,000 points of tech level 1, and you're like desperately trying to build the lightest ship possible because every pound is something from tech level 0. Every pound is a special ceramic or something. Or maybe you can use some tech level 1 stuff that's structural. For example, tech level 1 structure might be carbon fiber, stuff like that. So you can try and balance it out, figure out which components fit best into your situation. And we can keep increasing the tech levels. So, tech level 2 might include, nanotech, crystal circuitry, whatever we want to fictionally create, antimatter drives, whatever, right? Tech level 3, and so on and so forth. And these can be as chunky or as straightforward as we want. We can make them as fine or as chunky as we want. If I want, I could define 100 tech levels, and then you could keep going on top of that. Or maybe I'll just define 3 or 4 and make the game really, really constrained to those tech levels. In the end, I'll probably make it around 6. Who knows? But either way, the point here is that Earth would start with 0 of these guys. So you wouldn't be able to build parts that require that kind of system. And you could even make it real fun and start with none of these, and then you'd have to have a completely manually controlled ship, Sputnik style. I think that there are a lot of opportunities here, and the reason I kind of digressed into talking about the price of ship components is because it all ties together. Because you know what mission rewards can be? Yep. We can just reward you with economic points. You scan planet BX9, you get an extra 10 points of tech level 0 economy. You scan, you create a trade agreement with the space elves, you get 10 points of type 2 tech level, but you lose 10 points of type 1. Who knows, right? Because of these trade-offs, we can continue to diversify and make things more complex. For example, I'm talking about one planet right now, or one federation, but what happens if we have 20 planets? So you cause a new colony ship to go out from the planet Earth and land on some planet somewhere and set up a new colony, and they start off at 10 points of tech level 0 economy, and they're trying to wrestle their way up, and they need constant imports of tech level 1 technology because they can't create it locally. Oh yeah, food. Where's my mouse? There we are. But this sort of thing seems like it could be a lot of fun, because then you could do missions on behalf of that one colony world to try and build up your favorite personal colony. Hell, you could build that colony. There's no reason that you can't create the structures that the colony is made of, and even assign people as crew to the colony, and even run it exactly like you'd run a spaceship, although the missions might be pretty limited. What the heck? If you're on the colony, you could have missions that directly increase your tech level economies. For example, you tweak the mining rig, and it produces an extra point of tech level 0 economy. You create a circuit factory, and now you're creating tech level 1 economy. You create outposts, you put in a beacon that draws in ships, so now you can trade with ships, try and get that tech level 0 economy up to them on the cheap, because it's, food and steel and plastic are expensive to them, and they'll send you down nanotech on the cheap because it's light. They can carry it from a place where it's cheap. So this should offer us a valuable framework for our missions, and it also offers us a valuable framework for ship optimizations. Every single player that plays the game is going to end up with different tech levels, especially if they start to think about, I want to be from this particular outlier world in the middle of nowhere, or I want to be from the biggest capital planet of the super galactic interstellar alliance. You have very different feels depending on how you play, what you do, and all of that stuff can be in a shared universe. There's no real reason that it has to be limited to a one-player environment. This sort of stuff is very lightweight. It doesn't require real-time adjustment, so it would be super, super easy to create a shared world out of these kinds of situations. That's what I was thinking about mission design. Let me know what you think about mission design. Let me know whether you think it would be interesting to play a survival mode game where this is basically what you do. You don't have a big risk of your planet getting destroyed by alien invaders, or if there was a risk, you'd see it coming a long way away and you have plenty of time to negotiate for peace. I think that it might be fun. I think it might be interesting. In addition to these tech level economies, we'd probably also have points like political alliance points and stuff like that. But even science points aren't science points. They're just tech level economy points. With that in mind, let me know what you think, and I will probably release another prototype on Saturday, maybe Sunday. We'll find out. Thank you.